Now I'd like to introduce Dr. Kate Hurley, one of the co-founders of the Million Cat Challenge. Kate, we can see you in big screen, so go ahead.
Greetings, everybody, and soon I'm going to switch to my share screen mode, but just want to show you I'm wearing my Million Cat badge with pride, and we will be back to this view before too long. But in the meantime, just a tiny bit of housekeeping. As Valerie said, we may go the full 30 minutes for this portalization extravaganza, but we will hang out here until we get your questions answered from the chat. So please do type them into the chat box as we go along. And remember, this will be recorded, and also all the things that are mentioned, we have links to those in your portal resources. So don't be frantic about taking all kinds of notes or trying to jot down any of the links that are in this presentation. And finally, a reminder, if you are part of the Million Cat Challenge, yay, talk to us, let us know how it's going. If you're not part yet, we hope you'll join us. Check it out at millioncatchallenge.org, or check us out by dropping us a note at info@millioncatchallenge. And I'm going to try and be uncharacteristically not verbose. But before I begin, just want to say thank you to ASPCA Pro for being our partners in crime in the Million Cat Challenge and for hosting this webinar series on their pro learning platform. And a huge thank you to Maddie's Fund for sharing our vision from the very beginning. Without them, none of this would be possible. So big thanks to Maddie's. And finally, thanks to all of you. Nothing in the Million Cat Challenge, including portals, was our own idea to start with. It was your great idea that you shared with us, and the Million Cat Challenge gives us a platform to spread your good ideas further and further. And now, without further ado, the whole truth, the first ever live, online, with power tools installation of a cat portal in my office, as far as I know. And sometimes I think that people get frustrated with our obsession with portals. And it's like if you call your doctor and whether you have a headache or your leg fell off, the answer is always take two and call me in the morning. And with us, if you call us about a URI outbreak, about panleukopenia, about staff not taking the time to monitor the animals, about high staff turnover, about lower adoptions than you want, too long of a length of stay, very often, at least part of our answer is going to be, take two portals and call us in the morning. So just in very brief, you can hear a lot more about why we're so obsessed with portals, but I wanted to share a few of the reasons. This is a paper that just got published a few weeks ago, but we did the work a few years ago. We tracked feline upper respiratory infection in 9 North American animal shelters for an entire year. We looked at 49 possible risk factors for upper respiratory infection. We fed all of that data into a giant computer. There was a grinding sound, and this was the output. Literally, this is what we saw. That column is the infectious disease risk, and when it's less than 1, it means those factors are associated with a lower risk of upper respiratory infection. And of all those factors that we looked at, there were only 2 that mattered. One was cage size, greater than 8 square feet of floor space. How do we provide that? We provide that by portalizing 2 traditional cages into 1. And limited movement in and out of the cage in the first week of care. How do we provide that? Well, there's a few ways, but by far the easiest, safest, and most effective is to have compartmentalized housing so the cat can be safely tucked on one side while you take care of the other side of the housing unit. So, first reason we're obsessed with portals, it reduces disease. And reduced disease not only is better for cats, it lowers your costs and it decreases your length of stay. And we're not talking about just a little reduction in disease. This is an email we got from a shelter after portalizing. The number of cats in isolation went from about 15 all the time, every single day, to about 10 to 15 over the course of an entire year. That's a big change, but that's not all. We also looked at the stress score by day. We started cats out at random, And we looked at how that changed in the first week of care in the shelter. Now that red line you see on the screen is cats that started out in a traditional about 2x2 single compartment cage. And the green line is cats that started out in a cage about twice that size with 2 compartments and a portal in between. And the blue line is the dividing line between fearful and relaxed. And check it out. By day 2, the cats in the larger cages had gone from fearful to relaxed. They were showing the kind of friendly behavior that adopters want to see in a cat that they're going to take home. The cats in the smaller cages, they started out just the same. Everybody was freaked out when they first came in. But even by day 7, they hadn't quite made it across that line. And so what does that mean? That means not only are the cats stressed out, but also they're not showing the behaviors that adopters want to see. So when we reduce stress, we reduce disease, because upper respiratory infection is a stress-associated disease for shelter cats. We also decrease the length of stay, not only because the cats don't get sick, but because they just show better. And when cats are less stressed, staff is less stressed, volunteers are less stressed, everyone is happier. And that translates not only to decreased disease, but increased life-saving success, and paradoxically being able to take care of even more cats over time with fewer, better units of housing. So that feels like a miracle to us, but that's still not all. Here's a different kind of portalized cage, but it's still the same principle. And I use this just because it shows so clearly how the cat can be safely tucked on one side, while you just freshen up the food and the bedding on the other side, then close that door, open the divider, move her gently over without a whole lot of handling and contamination of her or your clothing or your arms or your hands, and freshen up the litter on the other side of the cage. Boom, you're done in a fraction of the time that it would take to take that cat out of the cage, clean the carrier, capture the cat after she escapes, put her back in. And again, saving time and lowering the amount of handling during cleaning not only lowers disease risk, it lowers your cost, and it decreases your length of stay. Why? Because when your staff isn't spending 6 or 8 hours cleaning cat adoption, and instead they can come in 2 hours later and have some time during peak viewing hours to interact with adopters and market the cat, you're going to get more cats out alive in a shorter amount of time. Win-win-win so far, but that's still not all. And finally, this is the most counterintuitive reason why portals work so well. And it's because the fewer cats you have waiting in line, as long as you don't have too few to be able to take care of them all, the shorter they'll stay to adoption. So just imagine in the upper picture here, what if there's 40 cats in adoption and you have about 10 adopters coming in a week? Well, those 40 cats are going to wait for 10 adopters a week. 40 divided by 10 is 4 weeks. Their length of stay is going to be 4 weeks on average. If you have a big adoption special, you move 20 cats out and then you portalize all those cages, boom, you have 20 cats waiting for 10 adopters a week. 20 divided by 10 means they'll only wait 2 weeks for adoption. You don't have to change anything else. Magically, your length of stay on average drops in half. And I know that's a hard one to believe, and this was an email I got from Karen Green, who didn't believe it either. She's the director at Cat Adoption Team in Portland, Oregon, and this is what she said. I don't know how to explain how this happened, except to say that there seems to be some magical thing that happens when you get your numbers right. When we had double or triple that, we had lots of long-term cats. When we dropped our capacity, it took some time, but our long-term number just fell. So, lower disease, lower stress, less time for daily care, lower costs, shorter length of stay, more cats leaving the shelter alive. What's not to like? And so with that quick introduction, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Wagner and the power tools. Please go ahead and continue to type your questions into the chat in the meantime. Dun-ta-da! Dun-ta-da! Whoa! I'm shifting into spokesmodel mode.
Hello, I'm Dr. Wagner. We're gonna make a few little adjustments here. Hopefully you can see the cages here in the background. I just rolled into Kate's office. What we're gonna do today is install a portal into a stainless steel cage. What this is gonna do is gonna allow this single unit and this single unit to be connected with a pass-through. Don't worry too much about the details of this. That's all available in the portal resources. I'll go through a few things, but I won't go into the detail that we would do if you were here standing next to me today. That's all available again on the resources. So here's the portal. You can see, I'm going to come in here a little bit closer so you can see that it has a door on a hinge point, and the portal will go in between the walls of the cages, and this door can close. And the other cool thing about this door is that it has a locking point right there, so that that door can close if it needs to be, or it can be locked once it's closed if that needs to happen. Hopefully, it'll always remain in the open position. And then I just want to show you this portal in the separated pieces. Here's the door. And you can see the portal will slide together when it's installed from side to side in these cages once I get this hole cut in this stainless steel housing unit. The other thing I want to do right now is just to show some of the power tools, because this is the exciting part, is we got Kate's office filled with power tools. So I want to show you a few of the tools we're going to be using. I'll be using a tape measure and a template. The templates you can order with the portals if you're going to install them, but you can also have someone else make you a template. We have instructions on how to make a template. I just heard last week someone used a cutout piece of wood for the template. You can do that too. We're going to be using some drills. I have my little drill that I'll use for a starter hole, and then I'll use a power drill with a step bit. And the step bit is this tool right here that I put into that power drill. That's going to cut the starter hole, the second starter hole, for another tool, and that's this tool. This is a nibbler, and this is what's going to cut the cage wall. For stainless steel, there's two ways you can cut it. Since we're in Kate's office, and I often choose this tool when we're in shelters as well, the nibbler does not have the heat and sparks that a plasma saw. It's not as spectacular, but it's much better when you're in an indoor environment. If you get your cages outside and you have someone who has a plasma saw, that's where I like to use the plasma saw. But again, today we're going to use the nibbler. And that pretty much covers the tools. So are you guys ready? I know I am. Here we go. I know I am.
We're ready.
As I did set up this cage with a traditional, cage setup. Oh, I can't see it. Very good. I'm going to move it just a little bit. Can you see that all right? So in the single cage unit, we have a litter box. So I have a litter box in here. I have a bed. I have portalina, food and water dishes, and a couple of toys. So that's how a single housing unit, single cage is usually set up. So we're going to take that stuff out and put that over here and get to work. All right, here we go. First step is
mark the cage. We're still working on our spokesmodel skills.
So I'm going to mark the cage. I'm actually going to install the portal into the cage a little bit deeper in this case because I don't have any shelving or anything inside here that's going to impede where I place this. So I'm going to put it towards the back. And the reason I do that is because the cat will move from side to side across the back of the cage much better than in the front. However, if there is a shelf in there, I might need to install the portal in the front, and that's fine if you need to do that as well.
I just want to reassure you all, we are capturing the questions in the chat. Keep them coming. They're great questions.
So here I go. I'm going to use a template. I'm going to put this in at the location I've marked towards the back. It's important that I mark it the same distance from this cage and this cage. And I forgot to mention, I've already pre-cut this other cage. I did that yesterday just to save us a little bit of time. So I'll only be cutting one side today.
This is like on a cooking show where they cook half the meal ahead of time.
Voila. The mark on the wall has been made. Next, thank you, Dr. Hurley.
Next step, cut the cage wall.
Dun, 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 dun. Putting on some PPE. I'm going to put my earplugs in. Hopefully Kate will put her fingers in her ears as I prep for this. Put on a little mask. Getting close. I have a little light. A little oil for my tools.
Oh my God, we're really doing this.
We're doing this. Here we go. Step one. Now, cutting the hole. Yes. Now we're going to actually cut the hole in the cage wall.
As easy as that.
So now, as I disrobe my PPE, I'm going to clean this up a little bit. Kate, do you have anything that you want to share? It'll take me a couple minutes just to get the cage cleaned up for the next step for the install.
Sure, while Dr. Wagner cleans up, I'll answer a few of the questions that I've seen coming through here. We put the portal towards the back of the cage when we can because a fearful cat is more likely to want to go through it. And so when you're doing daily cleaning and care, you can just kind of gently shuffle her over without her having to come towards the front of the cage. That said, if there's a shelf or something in the way so you couldn't be able to open and close the door easily, you can install it towards the front of the cage. Wanted to mention, if you thought that nibbler was cool, the plasma saw is even cooler. So when you do have the ability to roll the cages outside, and you can either purchase or rent or share a plasma saw from another shelter that's already portalized, that can be a really good option. And again, detailed instructions available online and will be provided to you with all the resources for doing everything that we're showing you here today.
We're getting close.
And just get the cage cleaned up so that there's no little metal shards in there. This is hilarious. It smells like bits of cut metal and stuff in my office. This is so great. I agree with the commenter. It says that I need that nibbler tool for so many things. Actually, where's the portal cut out?
Well, it's a little greasy right now.
Where's the mutant one?
The mutant one? There, I got those there.
Oh, okay. I'll show the people that.
Okay.
While we're doing that. If you use a plasma saw, you can take the portal cutouts and turn them into these adorable kitty heads and sell those as a fundraiser for more portals for your shelter, or use them as wall art.
All right, I think we're set to go.
Okay, step 3, right?
Step 3.
Install the portal.
All right.
First, the spacers, of course.
First, the spacers. So now that I have the cage walls cut, I want to put something in between the two cage walls to maintain the integrity of the wall. And so I have these little spacers. We make these. And if you get the portal from us, you'll need to make these as well. But they're just made out of 1-inch PVC pipe. If you get your portal through Shoreline, they provide the spacer. So, but I'm just going to put them in here in between the cages. And now we're going to install the portal. I show you the two sides of the portal, and I don't know if you can see, but there are holes on this side. And then this side is clean. The side with the holes is the side where the door is going to go. And I'm going to put the door on this side because I have a portal in the bottom cage unit, and that's where it is. I want it to look nice. There's also orientation on these, so I want to make sure I don't put these in upside down. And I'm getting the hardware for this. There are 2 screws for the portal that will hold it from side to side, and then there's 2 bolts that will go with the door. So I'm going to put the 2 screws in.
This is the part I'm sometimes allowed to do because it only involves a very small power tool. Sometimes I'm also allowed to use the Sharpie to mark the cages.
I can't see very good, so I'm putting my glasses back on.
Marking the cages is actually key, though, because you don't want to cut a hole in the wrong wall of the cage. So that part takes some attention to detail.
What I want to do now, I have the portal in there, but I want it oriented perpendicular to the floor. And I use a template for this. I'll use this edge to align the holes across the portal. This is explained in those detailed instructions a little bit better, but this will just help me square up the portal to the floor. And then I'll just tighten that up just a little bit more so it'll hold it in place. I'm not going to over tighten it. I'm just going to check the other side to make sure everything is covered. Looking good. And now I'm going to place the door on. Remember, the door, when it's open, should be right side up. So here it is right side up, and I'm going to install it on the portal right side up.
So when it says right side up, notice when the door is closed, that paw print is upside down. That's to remind us that the ideal position for that door is always open so that the paw print is right side up and looks pretty when the portal is in its normal position. That's kind of cool looking at Dr. Wagner through that portal hole. We're going to do that next time. We're going to get a filter for a GoPro camera and do that next time.
The hardware is all stainless steel, by the way. The hardware for the door hinge and the door stop are the same. I don't know if anyone's been timing this out there, but we are done with the portal install. So, woo! Portal is in there. I'm going to see if I can get this on here a little bit better so you can see it, but here's the door, closed and open. And now,
I'm going to do this. Just mention the silicone.
oh yes, thank you, Dr. Hurley. The final step, which I won't do today, is that generally when I install these, I will go ahead and put a silicone seal on the portal. I'll go on the edge of the portal to the wall where the wall meets that, and then I also do the overlap of the sleeves. So I'll put a small bead of silicone all the way around here, and then all the way around each edge of the portal while it's installed, after it's installed. So I won't do that step today, but that step probably takes another 5 minutes or so in this install process. Most of the time, the portal will take about 10 to 15 minutes for a complete install. That's from the start of marking it through install and sealing it. All right. The last thing I want to do is reset up this cage now that it's a double compartment unit for Portalina. This is exciting. It's going to take me a couple seconds, but we'll get this together.
I'm going to put this light on now. Hopefully that helps and doesn't introduce too much glare.
So when it was a single compartment, I could only use this small litter box because I couldn't fit a bigger one in there and a cat. But in this double compartment one, I can actually put in a regular size litter box. We'll put that in here. And there's still some floor space in here that's available for the cat to use.
Hopefully you guys can see this. Next time we'll have the GoPro version, so we have close-ups of this and a diagram even. And even just being able to have a litter box that actually fits the cat's behind without having to struggle, that can be huge for a cat.
Exactly. The next thing I'm going to put in is the raised bed. And this, I've draped a little curtailment on the front of this, but that can be used as a hiding space behind here, or these can be taken off as well, and it can just be installed without the curtailment. And you can use a towel or something to drape over the edge of this for that.
And we have links in the resources on how to make your own curtains and your own raised beds, so you can cut them to be the exact width and height that you prefer to maximize their usefulness in your cages.
I'm going to put soft bedding underneath that bed just to provide a different floor surface, so I'll have bare floor. I've got a little paper underneath the litter box, and then I'm going to put some soft bedding underneath the raised bed, just so I have more choice for the cat in there. Portalina's getting excited, going over on that side. The big point here is that we're going to put the food and water on the opposite side of where the litter box is. So food and water over here on the bed and resting side, the living side, and then the litter box over here. We'll get these toys back in here with Portalina. And then, like I said, we can put these curtailments or a towel draped over that bed to provide some hiding place in there. The other thing we can do, which is really nice on these cages with open bars, is to place a curtailment on this side, actually at the door level of the cage, so that you can have some partial visual barrier, also providing choice for the cat, whether they want to look out or be hidden behind, and that could be on the other side as well.
That can be super great. Like if you have cages that face each other, you can put them on offset cages so that no cat has to look at another cat, but they could look at another cat on an angle if they want to.
And then the last thing that I have that we can put on the cage are these scratching post type cardboard, and those can be attached on the cage door. Whoa, we need to get a bigger office, Dr. Hurley.
Apparently, I need to get the corner office if we're going to keep doing this.
But that can be attached there as well. All right.
So, with a simple 2 cages and 15 minutes of time, you can really transform a cat's environment into a space where she has quite a few choices. She can look out or not, she can be hidden or viewable, she can be up, she can be down, she can be on a soft, warm surface, she can be on a cool surface, she can be eating her breakfast without having to have her litter box 3 inches away. And so, it's not paradise, but it is a world different from what she had at the beginning of this webinar. So thank you all so much. That ends the official webinar partner portion, but we're actually going to go into some prepared Q&A and also just superb questions that everybody has asked. So I hope you can stay around or check out the recording afterwards to have the answers. I promise we will get to them all.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Don't go away, though. I'm just sharing my screen, so we're going to disappear off of their big screen. So I know one of the questions was, where can we get portals? You can order them from us, or you can order them now from Shoreline. If you have any troubles, always email us at sheltermedicine@ucdavis.edu. Or if you're handy, you can make your own. This is how we used to do them before we got that pre-made portal made, just out of PVC pipe. I'm not handy, but Dr. Wagner has made many, many, many hundreds of these. It takes more time, but it's doable. And again, you can make the curtains, you can make the beds, and you can let us know your great cat housing hacks by emailing us at info@millioncatchallenge.org to join our MCC discussion group. And just wanted to let you know something really exciting. You know, this month is the kickoff of Portal Mania for the Million Cat Challenge, and next month I am celebrating an award that Maddie's Fund gave me, a Maddie's Hero Award, by buying a bunch of portals so that I can give them to some lucky shelters that we're going to draw by a lottery, and I have a whole plan where we can use this to sort of portal it forward so more and more shelters can install portals, because I believe in them so much. And so now I'm going to just get to the questions. I just wanted to leave these up here. I have a few slides for them, but first I want to get to the questions that you actually asked. And there's some of them that are just kind of technical. Dr. Wagner, what material are the portals made of?
ABS plastic.
And a question that sometimes arises when we're used to having nothing but stainless steel and completely scratch-free impervious surfaces is, can that actually be disinfected? And the good news is we have much better disinfectants with better penetration on the market now than we did even, say, 10 years ago. So if you're using a disinfectant with good penetration into that plastic, even if there's a few little nooks and crannies in there, which these are actually they're very durable and smooth.
Yes.
But even like around the silicone seal, if you're using something like accelerated hydrogen peroxide or trifectant, which is potassium peroxymonosulfate, you still will be able to effectively disinfect that. What about tools for cutting through fiberglass?
I would select a saw, like a skill saw that is going to cut that. Most of the saws that are going to cut wood are going to cut fiberglass as well. One warning, make sure to wear a dust mask when you're cutting fiberglass, and wear protective gear for your eyes. Basically everything that I had on is good to cut most of these materials.
And I know I saw this, although I'm not seeing it on these printed questions. Can you install them? Oh, here it is. We have wood or maybe MDF or particle board. Can you install them in other kinds of materials than the stainless steel cages?
So the portal has some adjustment. It'll adjust from a 2-inch cage gap, so between cage space of 2 inches to 2 and 3/4 inches. This will fit the vast majority of stainless steel and most of the fiberglass cages. Some of the plastics, the gap is a little bit bigger. I'm working on getting a sleeve so that we can extend the portal out. We don't have it manufactured just yet, but you can use some linoleum to extend that out so you still can put them in those. The narrow cages, those are mostly the linoleum cages, so that have linoleum. Those are the laminate cages, I'm sorry. The laminate cages are about 3/4 to an inch in depth, and if you cut the portal down, you can actually make a skinny portal, and I don't know if you can still see up in that little.
Actually, I'm going to stop sharing and just do video.
Okay.
Because I think it'll be easier than you can demo.
I'll just show. Can they see now?
Hopefully you guys can see now. Chat into the chat if you can.
So what I do, and I don't have, because I just installed the one that I had in half, but I'll cut off portions of the overlap on these manufactured ones such that they will make a skinnier portal, and they'll work on the laminate cage type. So.
And there's a doorless one that you can use for the laminates, right, that you can purchase?
There was a doorless one made by SPCA.
But not like Mason cages?
Not in particular, although Snyder Manufacturing, sometimes if you're going to put pass-throughs into your Snyder made cages, you can request the material to do that directly from the manufacturer, Snyder.
Great. Keeping going on sort of cost things, how much do the portals cost?
Cost right now on ours is $65 per portal. That includes the hardware. The template, if you want the template, that's $50, but you can do multiple installs with one template. Shoreline portal is, I believe it's $85, but they're doing a special right now for, I believe it's $80. Check in with them to make sure. But theirs is a little more expensive because, did you remember when I put ours in, I showed you those spacers? You have to make those. Shoreline provides the spacer that fits the stainless steel cages, and so that's why theirs is a little more expensive. They also have a template. It's a little bit different than ours, but it puts it in the same, it puts the portal in the correct place in the cage. So they have a template as well, and I do not remember what that costs offhand.
But check it, those are the two main places to purchase portals. And then remember also, of course, you can make them yourself if you're feeling bold and adventurous. And the plasma saw is about $800. Is that right, Dr. Wagner?
The plasma saw, you can get a Hobart plasma saw with a built-in compressor for around $600.
And then feel awesome for the rest of your life.
You can cut up to 1/4 inch steel with that. I haven't done that yet, but I want to.
Stay tuned for the next webinar. Possibly on a weekend day when there's not fire safety personnel.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. Just kidding. But also you can rent tools. You can borrow them from other shelters that have portalized.
I highly recommend it's sharing. Share these tools amongst you.
Another question, I think there's a question about there's a sealant that helps mount the portal. So that's what the silicone is for, to seal up that edge so that there's no water or leakage between the two pieces. Can you put a portal in the floor to enable the kitties to go up and down?
Yes, you can. So I've actually put these in some shelters in LA, up to down. The 2x2s are probably not my favorite size cage to put it up to down because it takes away some of the floor space. But the distance between the cages up to down is the same as the distance side to side. So these can be put up to down. The door ends up being in a kind of a funny spot because it's meant to be installed vertically. But yes, you can. A lot of the places that put that in don't put the door on those, and they'll use something else when they need to close that door.
What we really like is for adoption cages, ideally, is to see them portalized side to side and up to down.
Yes.
So if you have a super busy Saturday and you're going to be moving a lot of foster return litters of kittens, go ahead, put 2 or 3 kittens in each single cage. They're only going to be there for the day, and you can put 4 pairs or 3 kittens. So you can have actually in a 4-pack of single units, you can have up to 12 kittens. And then when it's slower, you have a long-term cat in there, you can open all of those doors and one cat can have side to side and up to down, plenty of choices. Along those lines, what typically happens during kitten season when intake is very high and theoretically the shelter would have fewer cages available? One thing that happens is when you've got portals in and you've got things clicking along, your length of stay naturally drops. And so you can naturally move the same number of animals through with fewer cage units. But that said, there is a door. You can close it in emergencies, and especially if animals are only going to be staying a very short time. And another related question is, we have portals dividing 2 cats in 2 cages who do not interface. Check out, there was an ASPCA Pro webinar on Fast Track that shows how a shelter that already had portals between their cages, but had all the doors closed because they thought they didn't have enough room, used only Fast Track management to drop their population in half, open those portals, make the cats happier and healthier, save money, increase adoptions, and save the staff sanity. So check it out. We can find that link for you. Do you usually cover one side of the 2 kennels with a towel or shoreline cover? So you saw that with the curtailment. What's nice about this is that it gives the cat a lot of different options about whether she wants to be seen or not. And what we find is that actually when cats are in their home environment, they spend about half their time in visual contact with other cats and half their time not. What we know is that cats don't like staring at a blank wall all the time, and they don't like never being able to hide. So really important to give them that choice. And actually, I think that answers, wait, are there more questions? Yes, there was. What about trapping germs between the portal and the door? Again, it's pretty cleanable, it's pretty smooth when you actually put it in there, so that has not been an issue. Do the screws loosen after time and need tightening?
Sometimes sometimes those screws will loosen, but you can use a product like Loctite when you install the screws that will hold that in place to the tightness where you want it. And that's a good point, because what I really like is when the door is open, it just stays at that location, and so that it doesn't slam onto the doorstop or slam onto the floor when it goes down to the door. I like it that the door stays where you place it. So that requires that the screw be tightened to the level that you want it. And Loctite on those screw ends will help maintain that tightness.
Hey, and this reminded me, just to show you kind of a cool feature of the door, is this little hole. So you can use a tool, like even just a bent coat hanger, or shelters have made their own little tool to reach through the bars, grab this when it's open and close it without having to enter the cage. And that's real handy if you have a feral or fearful cat in there. It's great for staff safety. And just with all the talk about cost, I want to go back to reduce disease, reduce staff time for care, reduce length of stay, increased adoptions. That all translates to a really positive picture financially. You will save the time and save the money from portals. I promise you, and this is why I'm doing Portal It Forward next month, in a very, very short amount of time. So the real question is not can you afford to portalize, but can you afford not to portalize? What's the measurement width of the portal with the door open? Dr. Wagner.
The measurement of the portal with the door open. Well, let's just look.
How handy.
We got the tools right here. From that would be 17.5 inches.
And what's the measurement of the opening?
The opening itself is right around 7 inches. The portal, just from across the portal, is around 9.5 inches. So with the flanges.
And how fat was Cheddar the cat?
He was big.
We tried this with a cat. It was a good, I would say 18 pounds.
Yeah.
Like a big, like Maine Coon style, puffy cat. And she got through it, no problem. So that's why we have Portalina. These are fine, even for really fat cats.
And my hand.
And Chihuahuas.
Portalina. Oh, whoa. All right.
Have there been reports of the doors breaking off?
The doors, it's a single hinge point. So the doors only go in the direction that they're intended. They can't be bent away from the portal. If staff tries to bend them away from the frame of the portal, that will weaken and they can break right there. The other issue with doors that we've run into, and I've had about 5 broken doors right now. We've got over 5,000 of these out there. So I think we're doing all right. But if you forget to install the spacer, or whoever installs the portal doesn't put the spacer out there, that portal will squeeze the walls together and the door will rub against the cage wall, and that puts pressure on that single hinge point as well. So make sure the spacers are put in there, haven't had a problem with when they've been installed properly.
And here's a question, sorry getting to this late because it's a super important question. Is this just for an adoption room? Type into the chat if you're still here and you know the answer. Where is it most important to keep your kitties free of stress and healthy? Everywhere! Right, but especially imagine the experience of a cat who just lost her home or just lost his freedom and is in an environment they have never even imagined. And what would it mean in that situation to have a litter box that's big enough for you to just get into comfortably, to have your food and water where you don't kick in litter into it, to have enough room so that you can have a cozy place to cuddle up and a smooth space to stretch all the way out. That is so important to not only portalize in adoption, but portalize in holding and portalize in your treatment area as well. And I see you all got the answers right. So you all get an A+ and 1,000,000 gold stars. And we're almost to the end. We have just a few sort of technical questions. What are you using to attach the scratching boards, Dr. Wagner?
Those have a little, I have a little Ziploc on these, but you can use, actually you can use the Ziploc on them. I have a little Velcro thing on this one, but most of them come with Ziploc ties and those work really good. So I recommend those. Some of them have them built in, a twist tie on those as well. It works well.
And here's a question, I'm not sure what it means because I don't know when it came in. Are those just clips or magnets? If you're still there and you ask that question, can you type into the chat?
Oh, on the curtailments maybe, Kate.
Oh, yeah, okay, on the curtailments, we're going to guess.
So the instructions on how to make these are included in the resources, but what this is just a little elastic band that comes around to a button that I've sewn onto the corner of this curtain. And then the elastic is also used inside the curtailment so that you can have various lengths of it to stretch out. But that elastic just goes around the cage door or the cage bars to attach back to the button. Thank you for asking that.
And here's a sort of non-portal related question, but I love it. What plug-in air HEPA filters do you prefer? And the real answer is that we don't recommend relying on HEPA filters for air quality. We recommend, first of all, having cages with open fronts where possible, remembering that airborne transmission is not the way that upper respiratory infection spreads. It is really a disease of stress and of handling by us in the course of daily care. And so when we portalize and we give cats enough airspace, we're going to do more to reduce disease transmission than we ever could by putting barriers around the cats. And also lowering the density in rooms and using lower dust litter and keeping things catching up with keeping things clean. So this is an example of why we always come back to recommending portals, is that if you've got a bunch of cats and a bunch of stuff in the air, a HEPA filter, you know, it can reduce the amount of sort of particles in the air. It can make it smell a little bit better, but you've got to change those so often. Better to invest in staff time to keep the litter boxes clean and lower density and better housing that has better airflow. And here's a question that just came in. Portals for small dogs too? Absolutely. Dr. Wagner, would you like to comment on that? Just sort of the chewability or lack thereof of these plastic portals?
So these are ABS plastic, and if a dog gets a hold of it and chews a whole bunch, yes, they could damage them, but we have been putting these into small dog housing, and we're not having a problem at this time. I'm sure that we're going to get some dogs that are going to chew on that door, but the cool thing about this door is removable, so we can just take out the hinge point, and if we have a damaged door, we can replace it. So super helpful for providing double compartment housing for our small dogs, puppies, and small dogs as well. And actually, Shoreline will be coming out with a slightly larger one for just that purpose.
And I've actually seen shelters that didn't have small dog housing. Maybe they were built at a time where just small dogs hardly ever came in, and now they're overrun with small, tan, Chihuahua-like things. And they really get lost in a big old kennel. And they've rolled cage banks into their big kennels and then portalize them. And then that's really nice housing where the dog can be just single and cozy, and you can monitor it, make sure it's getting enough to eat, and it's not fighting with the other little dogs. And then the space outside that's still within the bigger kennel can be like a little small dog play area where adopters can take those dogs out of the kennels and get to know them, and they can come out and go potty. But you can set it up kind of like it is for a cat with a wee-wee pad on one side and the food and the water and the bed on the other side. So it's a little bit like a crate where they're not at least having to practice going potty on their bed and eating area, so we can start to maintain a little bit better house training concept. And then when the adopter takes that dog home, at least they know kind of about the wee-wee pad, and they've practiced going to the bathroom on a wee-wee pad. So great question. If you had a burning question and we haven't answered it, go ahead and type it into the chat. All right, well, with that, we're going to wrap it up since I'm not sharing my screen anymore.
Yes, we are almost at the top of the hour. So thank you so much for the amazing Power Tool show. We've never had a demo like this before, and I hope we have more. So thank you to Drs. Hurley and Wagner. Thank you to Mandy. Thank you, everybody, for taking time out of your day. We hope we'll see you next month on February 22nd for Cat Portals, A Tale of Two Shelters, where you'll learn how two shelters have been impacted by the portals that they've installed. So thank you so much. I'll email you tomorrow when the recording is available, and you'll be getting tons of resources in that email. Thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Bye. Thanks for coming. Tell your friends. Yep.